Today on the Railway Room, it's part 3 of phase 1 of my new build 009 model railway. Hello friends, and welcome back to the Railway Room. So today is the long awaited part 3 of phase 1 of my new build 009 model railway. It has been a bit more of a slow burn build than I would ideally have liked, but they've been making some good progress in the last couple of months, and I'm in a position to be able to start sharing with you again. What I was going to put into this part 3 video, I've actually decided to split into 2 videos. So it's going to be part 3 and part 4. It's going to give each video a bit more of a focus on a particular area of the build. It also means that part 4 is about 90% ready to go already, so there's not going to be quite such a long wait for that one to come out. So that's going to be focusing more on the scenic area around the back and the side of the station area. This video is focusing purely on the build of the signal box. So without any more preamble, let's just get on and have a look at the box. So I did mention it briefly in the last video. The signal box that I'm going for is this ratio platform ground level box. I picked this one up unused but second hand, so it's a slightly older box, but the contents are the same. And even though it's been around a while, I'm actually pretty pleased with it, pretty impressed. So these are the basic instructions for it. Seems fairly straightforward. But what's quite interesting is, I don't know if you can see it in there, but you've got the frames on one piece and then the wooden panelling as a separate piece, which fits into the frames. So those are your panelling, and in here somewhere these are the frames, and then they go together. This is the wall I've already built, like that. So it's a little bit more complicated, a little bit more time consuming than a standard 4 walls reformed, but hopefully the results are going to be worth it. It comes in moulded colours already for southern region, so you could just build it as it is without needing to paint it at all. Personally, I find that would probably look a little bit plasticky, so I prefer to paint it. And anyway, I'm going for western region colours, so I've painted all the parts on here already. This is the base that I've used to measure where it's going to sit on the layout. I'm not going to film the entire build process on this, but I'm planning to do something a bit more interesting with an interior in the box. So I'll just build up all the 4 walls of the basic structure of the kit, and then we'll come back and have a look at what's going on inside. So I've made up my 4 walls of the signal box from the kit there, and on this side with the door, you can see I've drilled a hole just above the door. It's a bit bigger than it needs to be actually, but that's because the kit comes with a moulded plastic dummy light to go above the door. I'm not going to be using that because I picked up a pair of these from Layouts for You. Is an LED light, so that is going to stick out above the door there, so I'm going to have a working light on there. And this actually comes with quite a big square rectangular frame on it, so that's going to completely mask the large hole. You're not going to be able to see that. One good thing with this signal box kit is that it does come with a printed interior. It's just on the card, but you've got like the inside. So I'm going to cut this out next and then glue that onto the inside of the walls, and then I can put the walls together and start worrying about the interior. The interior, I've got one of these trusty Metcalfe signal box interior kits. It's quite a small one, fairly inexpensive. I'm not going to be using all of the bits from this in this box because it's not big enough. Okay, so I've got the 4 walls of the box together and attached to the base now, and the roof is together. The roof is not attached as yet. I'm probably going to leave the roof free so that I can get inside if I need to without having to take it apart and risk damaging it. And it does just sit on there quite nicely. And so inside, Don't know how well you can see the printed walls are all in place there, and I've got here the contents of my Metcalfe Signal Box interior kit. There's also the door there, which is not attached yet, because I'm going to put that in an open position so that we can see inside a bit better. So in the Metcalfe kit, I've got the signal frame. In a moment I'm going to go and print off the track plan for the station and put it in here. This is going to go in the front, really, so you're not actually going to be able to see the what's on there very well, but it'll be a nice little touch to have. And then we've got a table, a regular chair and a rocking chair. I may or may not put the rocking chair in, I'm not 100% sure on that. This is my signalman. He's one of the Dowpole Railwayman set. This is actually a signalman who was in the box on Dolgarrog Thee, but there was so little light in there I couldn't see him. I had no idea that he was there. I'd totally forgotten. Then we've got the stove, and there's a chimney that goes with this. I've not built that yet because I'm hoping to use the chimney to disguise the wires for the electrics to the light on the front. So then I've got a rug. This is actually not one from the Metcalfe kit. This is from Scale Scenes, their interior detail, just to mix things up a bit so it's not just entirely Metcalfe. And then I've also scanned in and printed out, very tiny, some suitably Welsh railway posters. So they're going to go in on the walls. And I don't know how well you can see, but I've worked out where the chimney is, and directly underneath the chimney I've got a little square hole there, and that's going to go underneath the stove, because that is where the wires are going to come up to go for the lighting. Now, looking at pictures of genuine boxes, it does seem sometimes the lever frames are at the back of the box, sometimes they're at the front. So because I've got the stove in this corner and there's a notice board in this corner, I'm going to put the lever frame at the front in this box. So he's going to go in sort of there-ish. I'm just going to work out where they're going to go, and I'm going to lightly glue everything into position. So that's going to be the table, the chairs, the rug, and probably the signalman, and also the posters. Then the stove is going to be the last thing that I'm going to put in, because that's going to interfere with the lighting, which is going to go at the top, so the lighting is going to be the last bit to do. Okay, so I've got my interior pretty much all detailed up now there, all except for the stove that's going to go in that corner where the hole is. But I want to have the wires for the lighting to come down through the chimney and the stove, through that hole there. So the next thing I'm going to do, I've worked a way upwards, now I'm going to work from the top back down through with the wiring. So the next thing I need is the exterior light. So if I can find that here, I'm just going to poke the wires through the big hole in the wall. This is one wire. And the second wire. Okay, I've just got a little bit of glue on the back of that, so hopefully I should be able to just swish this through and get this fairly nicely evenly into position. Okay, so the exterior light there is now nicely dried and glued into position, and I've just put across the middle a beam made of basic plasticard. I've just roughly painted it black so it's not blinding white as soon as I take the roof off. It doesn't need painting at all, really. And so the main light I'm going to stick to the underside of that, and I'm just using this kit from Layouts for You, so their roof lighting kit. So this is the LED, and it just comes with this plastic 3D printed holder, and I'm going to stick that on the underside of this beam. You also get these little sticky tabs to stick it into place, so hopefully this is going to work out okay. And then I'm just going to angle the wires to come over to this corner where my hole is. Okay, so hopefully looks like that's sticking there quite nicely. So I've just glued the chimney onto the top of the stove there. This is actually a replacement chimney, the one that came with the Metcalfe kit. I accidentally made it a little bit too wide, it didn't quite look right. So this is just made from some normal paper. And I'm just going to thread through all 4 wires from both of the lights, hopefully. Okay, so let's do from the outer light. These 2 should be a bit easier. So now I need to try and get all of those through the hole in the floor. Without destroying everything that I've done. So this has turned out to be a bit of a tricky bit of the job, and the main reason here is this heat shrink tube on the main light, because there's the resistor that's in there. It would be a lot easier if this resistor was down at the bottom end of the wire, because it does make it quite tricky to then get it. This wire here just does not want to bend through the right angle. I've had to pull my central beam off to unglue it in order to get this into position. But I'm reasonably happy with where we're at now, so I'm just going to lift it up and put some glue onto the bottom of the stove, and then I can get the stove glued into position. So once I've got that in, I'll then re-glue the beam into position. It might have to be a little bit further across towards the door rather than quite in the middle, just because of the space needed for that to heat shrink to bend. So I'll just put the glue onto the base of the stove and then put it down. I'm probably not going to do that on camera just because it's very fiddly and I'm going to have to hold it into position, so I'm not really going to be able to film, but I'll come back once that's glued into place. Right, so after much wailing and gnashing of teeth, I finally got the support back installed, and obviously I did get it back installed and then just test the wires with a battery to make sure it was all working well, and I then immediately discovered that the LED that I put in there was actually a flickering one and not the amber one that I intended, so I had to take it back out and reinstall it with the correct light. The good news of that is that this light actually has a much shorter connection to it, so it actually fits in much better. But that is the correct one, and it's all back together now. So the next thing I want to do is add the guttering, which I'm going to add to the body rather than to the roof, so that I can have the removable. I didn't want to do that before because it's just going to be too fragile, the amount that I'd need to be handling it to add the lighting. And so my last little detail that I've got here is this is a flickering red or orange LED, and that's just going to go up in through the hole and sit inside the stove. If I can squeeze it in, and that should just sit nicely in there. So now I've got those my LEDs all in place, I just want to wire them up quickly and do a quick test, make sure they're all working properly. So I've just done that quick test of the lights on the box, and I'm generally pretty happy with it. The only thing I did notice, there was a certain amount of light leak across the tops of the walls. For some reason it seems like the angle on these eaves on this roof part doesn't quite match the tops of the walls, so I'm not sure if that's an issue with the kit or if I've done something wrong in the building of it. So what I've just done is I've got some pieces of plasticard and cut them and painted them black and stuck them on the insides of the roof so they nestle just inside the wall, and hopefully they should block most of that light leak and stop that being an issue. So I'll show you some of the extra details. You've got the newspaper folded up, that's a scale model scenery. A teacup, that comes from Scale 3D. The diagram and stuff on the table, that's just printed at home. I downloaded an image. And like the pens and things, that's just pieces of plasticard painted. You've got a stack of logs, that's just a matchstick cut up. And the coal scuttle there is part of the Wills T-Van kit that I wasn't using in that. So I've just put it in there, it works quite well I think. And there's also a coal shovel next to it. I can't remember exactly where that one came from, but underneath I've just tucked all the wires together. They're going to sit in this bit underneath the base, and then I've got these little connectors here that's going to poke through the hole in the board. And this is where the box is going to go, so I've drilled a hole through for all the wires. What I will do now is I'll actually scrape away some of this ballast in around the edge, just to clear it a bit to be able to get the box in nice and tight. Now the only thing is, the bottom of the drain pipes there, I really need some kind of a drain where the water would run away to. It's something I never bothered with on my first layout, but I am trying to raise my game a little bit this time. So what I picked up is from Narrow Planet, these etched drain grills. They came through light railway stores. So I'm just going to paint those up, and I'm going to put a couple of these smaller ones in where the bottom of the drain pipes are going to go. So once I've got that in nice and snug where I want it, I'm just going to sprinkle in a little of the ballast in to fill up the gap up to the bottom of the wall. So just the same as doing the ballast in before, I'm going to spray it wet and then put in a little watered down PVA glue just to glue it all in place. And so I've just got these pieces of wire for the handrails for the steps, bent into shape using the template in the instructions, and they're just going to glue into place hopefully. So a couple of extra details I need to do. I'll be putting some static grass around the bottom of the walls, but I'll do that when I've cut the applicator out, so I'll show that in the next video. And at some point I'll get a nameplate to go along the front of the box there as well. And so let's have a look and see what it looks like lit up. Okay, there we are in position, and I've just quickly painted the handrails over into a steel colour. And I've temporarily hooked it up to a 9-volt battery. What I will be doing once I've got a couple more buildings and lights on, I will be adding switches onto the control panel so that I can switch the lights on and off, and then I'll be running it off to a 12-volt mains power supply. But for now, there we go. So I think that's a pretty good place to leave it for now. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, feel free to comment, like, subscribe, all of that stuff. Part 4 won't be quite such a long wait for, and that's going to be focusing on the bridge at the end of the layout and the path and scenic area around the back. In a couple of shots you've probably seen already some of the results of that, but in the next video we're going to be looking and seeing how that's come about. So until then, thanks again for watching, and well, I'll see you next time. Thank you.